Heyo, my kid is at school. I have my breakfast, so it's time to get to work. I'm Matt, and if you're new here, I usually demonstrate fantasy world building concepts, tricks, and tips, usually by building a new world on the fly. Today is going to be a little different because we're going to examine magic systems, particularly soft magic systems using the AALC magic system. So I hope you stick around, and let's get to work. All right, so first off, we should clarify what magic systems are, what soft and hard systems are. I've got some previous videos that hopefully there's a link up for right now if you really want to delve into it, but the hard and soft is really based on Sanderson's 4 laws of magic and the idea that soft systems are ones that the audience does not understand, while hard systems are. Because the audience understands it, they are okay with magic solving problems within the story itself, being a solution to the problem because of their understanding. Without the understanding, then it feels like Deus Ex Machina, or however you say that. I still don't understand. I should really look it up someday. One thing to observe is that harder systems are becoming more and more popular in books. In fact, I was talking to ML Wong, who is a Spitbo winner with Sword of Kagan, and she said she was on a panel of magic systems not too long ago, and they were asked to defend soft systems, and no one spoke up. No one wanted to defend soft systems. So I guess that's what we're here today. We're going to defend soft systems, look at them, and see why they are pretty great. For one thing, they're everywhere. I have my 5 exemplar world builders, Game of Thrones, Star Wars, Lord of the Rings. All 3 of those have the soft systems in them. As Sanderson points out, Lord of the Rings actually has a hard system and a soft system. And one of my personal favorites, Neil Gaiman's Sandman, is the softest of soft. We're talking pudding soft here, but it's still exceptional and inspires writers to this day. All right, if you want a refresher for Sanderson's, please check the video link, hopefully showing up right now. If you want to look at the AALC system, that's basically a system that I created and looked at, much like Sanderson's laws. They're more observations than they are hard laws that you have to stick by. The idea is that there's a progression to magic systems. They always start off very soft, then they're just looking at the appearance of the magic, then they move on to the abilities, what it can do, then to limitations. This is Sanderson's 2nd law right there, and then finally into costs. And they can move between them, and it's kind of a spectrum from the softest to the hardest. But why use a soft system, especially if we're trending to hard systems? Well, for one, it's fantasy in its purest form. Fantasy is, again, impossible conceits opposed to science fiction, which are improbable conceits, things that could happen in time or can be explained away with science. Fantasy is patently impossible. These are things that cannot exist in our world, which is why we seek out fantasy in the first place. This is soft magic. These are impossible things. And when I was doing interviews and surveys of what fantasy fans and authors wanted for the book, the word wonder came up over and over again, which is a lot of what fantasy is creating a sense of wonder by encountering the impossible, opposed to horror, which is creating a sense of terror or horror from encountering the impossible things. Just one thing to think about it. Second reason to use soft systems is that hard systems are hard. And I know that sounds really trite, but then you have to, once you start moving to the hard systems, you have to figure out what's the range of things, what are the effects, why, kind of a leveling system, you have to think of all of the details. And we believe in purposeful world building here, which is to say that all your world building details have to serve a purpose within the story itself. This is kind of Hemingway's iceberg principle that Jemison talks about, is in, as I think she says, why inflict your suffering on others? You may have figured out all of the magic systems or this lineage that goes back 6 generations, but why are you telling the audience if that doesn't pertain to the story itself? So it's the same with magic systems. You may need it, you may not need it, the audience may not need it at all, so why give them anything more than they need? If the magic doesn't play a large role in the story, then the soft system is perfectly great, and keep it. Third, soft magic systems are more closely tied to character arc. Hickson at Hello Future Me has some great videos about this, about how to scale the magic and how soft systems attach to a character arc. That's something to look at. And if you look at the scale of the AALC system, hopefully at the bottom right now, you'll see that there's a spectrum of it. And as the closer you get to the middle, the harder they become, the more attached they are to character arcs. So the softest of systems really doesn't involve character's arc. It is really far away from the character. It's something the character is observing at best, which is why we look at appearance. So, but the closer it gets to the middle, the harder it becomes, the more it's about character arc, which we'll look into in just a second. Fourthly, all magic systems start soft. It doesn't matter how crunchy it is, how hard it will become. When the audience first encounters the magic, usually through the characters encountering it, it's going to seem strange and otherworldly, and as time goes on, the story will explain away the magic. This is infodump equity, which is the movement of soft to hard. It's this concept Sanderson mentions, and I have an article up at the Fantasy Hive explaining how the Matrix masterfully uses infodump equity to take this very strange magic system of Trinity running up walls and doing her kick, and then going from that to eventually explain the rules 40 minutes into the movie, at which point the audience is craving all this information, and then it becomes an even harder system as time goes on. So again, all systems start soft unless you're already working within an existing universe. If you're writing for Dragonlance, you can already assume that the audience knows the magic system, or if you're working in a very, very crunchy lit RPG, you can probably spell it out at the beginning. It's probably hard at the beginning. Otherwise, all systems start soft. So let's get to know some soft systems and some characteristics of them and what works and what doesn't for them, so that we can build some soft systems that we can work as a great foundation to start building some harder systems. And one thing to remember about soft systems is that they are the A in the AALC system, as in they are all about appearance. It is what the magic looks like, both within the world and to the characters, and what the characters who are using the magic do, as in what kind of gestures they do, what kind of particle effects come from it. This is all about making that sense of wonder and coolness and the it factor. It ties to Sanderson's fourth law about make it cool. Err on the side of cool. I can't remember what exactly he said. So again, it's all about the appearance of the magic itself and how it makes the world seem more unreal and more magical. So probably the biggest rule of thumb for soft systems is that they can get characters into trouble, but they can't get characters out of it. This is Sanderson's first law, where he points out that audience enjoyment increases the more they understand the magic system, i.e. the magic can get characters out of trouble so long as the audience understands the rules of the magic itself. Conversely, soft systems feel like Deus Ex Machina because they don't understand why the magic interfered with the story in the first place, so it creates the sense that it was unearned. So if we look at our spectrum again, the softer it is, the less it can affect the plot itself. The closer to the middle, that's when it starts affecting character arc, and it can have an effect on the plot, and we'll see how in just a second. The first type of soft system is window dressing, and this is kind of your Lord of the Rings, Gandalf conundrum. Star Wars in the first trilogy was a very, very soft system. It was very window dressing, though it moved and it hardened over time. Game of Thrones, same sort of thing, in that we don't really understand the magic, especially in the books themselves. Magic is not the main point of the story. Think of Conan, in the short stories. As magic exists, it's exceedingly soft, the character doesn't understand it, so the magic adds a sense of wonder and horror, disquiet, and it's something that Conan has to deal with without fully understanding it. This is, again, window dressing. It's there to make the world look cool. This is kind of also the Gandalf conundrum, and because it does look cool, the character's powerful, but he can't really solve the problem. He can't summon the eagles to fly the hobbits there. He can't solve all the problems unless it's involved with a character arc. Also, two caveats to that: the soft magic window dressing can save the day in exactly two specific ways. The first is the character's first appearance. The first time they show up, it makes sense to show that they are powerful, that they have magic. This is something that they need to do to establish the character. This is an old screenwriting rule of that the first time you introduce the character, they need to be doing the most them thing possible. So, in Star Wars, Han Solo, what's the first thing you see him doing? You see him like haggling and then blasting a bounty hunter under the table. He shot first. This is the character being established. So you can establish the magic character using their magic by having them save the day to establish they're powerful. But at that point, then if they start using their magic to get the other characters out of things every time, it's going to feel like a cheat. So you get one chance with it. The second one, the character can save the day with their soft magic so long as the other characters had to endure long enough for them to reach them. This is, Dumbledore swooping in to save the kids in the Ministry of Magic. This is Gandalf riding in on the 5th day. This is Luke and the Mandalorians running in to save them. All of these instances, the magic character can sweep in and save the day, but only if all the other characters had to sacrifice and earn the victory by, enduring to that point. So, window dressing cannot affect the plot, but can create problems for the plot. So Gandalf can roll in and send everyone off on an adventure, can screw things up with his magic, but what he can't do is then fix everything. The second type of soft system is the soft villain, which is probably the worst name for a villain because you want them to be frightening and hard and scary. But the soft villain means that the villain's powers are unknown and can be powerful and out of nowhere so long as it makes the characters' lives more difficult, which goes back to the rule. It can get them into trouble, but it can't get them out of it. The characters can even bring up hitherto unknown powers out of nowhere. Think of the Emperor in Return of the Jedi. All of a sudden he's shooting force lasers from him. It's like no one has seen powers like this whatsoever. It's in the finale of the series, but we don't care because it's the villain and his suddenly new power makes Luke's life more difficult, so it makes Luke's victory seem more earned. Meanwhile, if Luke had just pulled out a power out of nowhere to save the day in Jedi, it would have felt like a chosen one, which is the next one. Chosen one is, as it sounds, the character has something unique in them that means that they are chosen for this, and a lot of times it kind of works as plot armor because the villain can't hurt them. So this feels like Deus Ex Machina because out of nowhere the villain can't touch the bad guy because there's something inside them that's so pure or whatever, and this doesn't really work, but it's used a lot. In all of my exemplars, Aang is a chosen one, Harry is a chosen one, Luke to a certain extent. Even the Starks seem like they're going to be the chosen one, which is kind of cool that Martin is playing with that and starts killing them off. The chosen one is used a lot, but it's unsatisfying unless it is explored further. If it's unexplored, then it's just Deus Ex Machina, which is why we move on to the soft hero incomplete. Now this one can be kind of two ways. One, it can be a curse that's put upon the character, this kind of unknown power that comes from within. It can manifest at bad times. Let's say the character, whenever they get scared, they start to glow. That's really bad when you're being chased. That would be a soft hero incomplete, so long as the power doesn't mutate any further. It can also be a power that the character doesn't understand. They can send out blasts of energy, whenever they're frightened, same sort of thing, but there's ramifications around it. They don't understand where this power came from, and a lot of times they're trying to explore it. If it is not completely explored by the end of the story arc, then it's an incomplete, and it means that it's going to need to be explored further on in the story. Finally, in the soft types, we have the soft hero complete, and this is where the character comes to terms and through their character arc begins to understand their power. We look at Luke in the first Star Wars trilogy. He doesn't believe in the Force. He's just beginning to learn it. He's being told he can become a powerful Jedi, but he doesn't understand the rules whatsoever. He puts his faith in technology until he's flying that last run on the Death Star, and then he hears Obi-Wan's voice to trust the Force, and then he comes to terms. He completes his character arc, and so he uses the Force, even though he's had no real understanding of the Force up until this point, to save the day. This is an acceptable use of his soft power because it's tied to the character arc. We feel it's completed, it feels earned because the character has earned it. Now, there's the fun part. If the soft hero complete is filled out, finishes his arc, which is finished in the first Star Wars movie, then it has to be explored further. The magic system itself has to harden to a points or limit system, even a cost, as the story progresses. The magic will have to harden and be explored further later in the series, but that's something we'll look at in another video. So to try to demonstrate all this stuff, I have pulled up Chaotic Shiny. It's my favorite site for coming up with random magic systems because I'm not going to waste on my own personal systems. And we're going to look at how this one system can be done as soft, as window dressing, soft villain, chosen one, etc., etc. I pulled up one ahead of time. And it says, this technique uses gems as a focus. Chaos, far-seeing, air, and boundaries are strongly associated with it. So I'm going to spend a few minutes to kind of break that out, and I'll report back in just a second to see how we can make all the types of soft magic systems out of that. Okay, here we are a few minutes later. I'm going to try to demonstrate how all this strange random system can be used for all the soft systems themselves. It actually worked out pretty easily. We're going to go with the proto story of, I almost made this just like the last time I demonstrated a soft system where they had the mentor character and it was going to be kind of Gandalf-y, but I've decided against this. So in this, we're going to have a kid, you know, because kids are the best kind of stories, and it, you know, just a normal kid. His mom has a necklace that she treasures with a big ruby on it. He never ever really thinks about it. You know, he thinks his mom's tragically uncool. Then one day, you know, he's looking for money in her purse, and he, you know, stumbles across a, let's say a quartz in there. He brushes his hand against it, feels the pulse of energy, and later that day, that's when the bad guy shows up with, you know, goblins or that kind of thing. And to his great surprise, you know, these goblins attack him, and his mother rushes in to save him, and she's using fire magic and just, you know, eliminating them, which gives him the chance to escape. In it, he takes the, you know, the quartz crystal with him. So that would be our first, and the mom is left behind. I should probably point that out. So, you know, she sacrifices herself. This would be a soft window dressing system in that, you know, the mother is using magic. It is all about, you know, the fireballs she's sending out, the cool effects that she's doing as she is, you know, battling, you know, clutching this this gem of hers to use all the magic. So again, that's the appearance of it. The stone itself is part of the appearance and all the magical effects. So that's your window dressing. It's getting the kid into trouble, but it's not getting him out of trouble. If she just rushed in to save him, then it wouldn't really work. So kid starts off his adventure. You know, we've got our act one. He's out there. He's got this, you know, this quartz that he now has as a necklace, and so then we also have our villain. Let's say our villain is wearing a black stone because, you know, that always makes it easy to make shorthand for supposedly being evil, and their black stone allows them to do all sorts of abilities. The kid doesn't know. This is a soft system. In the finale, you know, we think we have a good handle on what the villain can do, but boundaries is one of our powers. So in the finale, the villain suddenly erects a wall of black stone around the hero to trap them in, and, you know, where they can't escape. So we're going to make that the soft villain. Again, it's all appearance based, with the, you know, not so much what he can do or understanding what the villain can do. The villain can pull out powers out of nowhere because it makes the hero's life more difficult. Now, chosen one of the powers was air. And we are going to use that as the chosen one power. Remember, this one is the one that is not really enjoyable, doesn't feel earned. So every time one of the demons or goblins or whatever, or the main villain tries to grab the hero, a gust of wind just shoots him out of the grasp and flies him away, you know, so to safety. So as you can see, that feels like a cheat, Deus Machina, you know, a magic power because of his gem saves him every time. That's going to get real old real fast, probably after the first time, definitely after the second. So the chosen one could be the air power that keeps him safe. Meanwhile, chaos is one of the powers, and that can be kind of cool because it can work as a soft hero incomplete, as in things just happen around him. Stuff falls off the walls, cars try to hit him. It makes the character's life more difficult. So, you know, just chaos happening around him, pretty cool power. And, you know, if he doesn't figure out how to control the chaos itself, Then it's a soft a hero incomplete, as in later stories he's going to have to figure out how to harness that chaos. One of the other powers was far-seeing, which we're going to say is scrying. He's got this crystal so that, let's say he looks into it and he can see things that are, outside of his normal purview. This is a perfect one for soft hero complete because at first he doesn't understand the power. He doesn't, it's tied to introspection. Let's say he has to understand himself to actually use the power. He doesn't want any of this. He's rejecting it the whole time. But in the finale, when the bad guy traps him into this, black maze of stone and is hunting him, the main character needs to get out to save his mother because, let's bring it all full circle. And so he finally has to master his own doubts and everything, looks into the crystal and uses his far-seeing to find the way out, rescues his mother, and gets away. It saves the day, and it shows a character arc and that he's finally able to overcome his fears and master his power. Now, that works really great for the story, and if it's standalone, it'll be successful. We still haven't figured out the chaos power, but in future stories, his far-seeing, we're going to have to start looking at the limitation. We're going to have to start looking at the abilities of it, the limitations, costs, etc. Then we're going to have to explore this power in the same way that we will hopefully explore the chaos power, and hopefully show his arc as he masters that as well. So soft systems are really worth knowing because they are the foundation for the other systems. You need a good soft system and its appearance if you're going to start building a point system or a limitation system or a cost system. These are all they all build on top of each other. You need to have your appearance so that you can have your abilities, so you can have your limitations, so you can have your costs. So it's good to know each one. I hope you enjoyed learning a little bit more about soft systems.